What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. We have a lot of stuff to get into today. We saw Dragon Ball FighterZ get a release date in Japan that could give us an idea as to when it'll come out here in the US and other parts of the world as well. Pokemon Go actually got some trading, which is good because I feel like that's a feature people have been asking for forever, and it's kind of getting it now. And then we have to go into Nintendo cracking down on hackers online. It seems like they figured a few things out, and even one of the people we reference here a lot that has actually data mined a lot of things even says, yeah, don't bother going online, you're going to get banned. We're going to get into all that as well. So first, let's start with this Pokemon Go trading. So Pokemon Go, of course, has been around for a while. It's pretty popular. Obviously, they do a whole Pokemon Go Fest in July over this. Hopefully this year is better than last year. But one of the things that people have constantly asked is seriously like a big point to Pokemon, and that is actually trading Pokemon with your friends. Now, the reason Pokemon Go has not really had trading is they've been trying to figure it out. How are they going to do this, since the idea of Pokemon Go is to actually try to explore and find Pokemon? Well, if you're able to trade to anyone, it's kind of going to defeat the purpose of going to different regions, different places around you or anything like that, where there are Pokemon specific to those areas. You see that a lot, where just like maybe Vulpixes show up at like your local park, but not around your house. If you want them, you got to figure out how to get to your park. So you're driving around for a Pokemon Go cell phone game, right? But people do it, and it works for the game. Now, trading is going to be interesting because they're going to have a whole friends list system that you use essentially friends codes with, but you send those, you get a friends list, you're good to go, and you build up relationships with the people on your friends list. So you have different tiers of like good friend, great friend, things like that, right? So they have different titles. And the way you kind of increase your friendship with them is to do cooperative stuff like running raids or attacking gyms, things you would expect from people that you're friends with that you're playing cooperatively with. So the trading is not going to be essentially everyone together, right? It's not online or anything. It's actually based on how close you are, where you are in accordance to the person you're trading with. I believe right now they have it up to 100 meters. So you're not like trading with your friend like very far away, obviously. You know, you're not going to trade with somebody across the world or anything like that. And I think that makes sense because then you're going to kind of break the game. But Pokemon Go Fest is coming up, and that's going to be very interesting to see how that all works, since there'll be a ton of people in one spot trying to trade back and forth. Now, the trading is also kind of interesting because they have different tiers. For example, to trade a legendary Pokemon, you want to build the friendship with someone else so that the Stardust cost goes down. So whenever you trade, there is a cost. So you have to basically trade in your dust that you have to trade Pokemon, and it will go down the higher you have for friendship levels with people around you. I like the idea of finally bringing trading in. I like the idea actually of kind of limiting the distance because then, you know, it breaks the game. I would have thought it'd been really cool to have like NFC capabilities where if you're right next to the person, you could touch the phone to them. Then, well, it doesn't cost anything, or it costs very, very few, because that means you're actually out with somebody in the world, right? It's not like you're trading even 100 meters away from somebody. You're actually face to face with them, touching your phone to theirs. So that would actually be pretty cool. I don't know if they'll ever get to that point because they probably want to run everything through the network. But even if NFC was just like a check-in essentially, right? Where it's like, okay, you definitely know the person in real life. Let's get these Pokemon traded for minimal dust. That's just my thought on it, though. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the Pokemon Go community. I'm sure is going crazy, so let me know what you guys think about trading finally being in Pokemon Go. Also, if you were interested in the GameCube official controller for Smash, it's now appeared online on Amazon for pre-order. They have that, and they also have the adapter to plug it in. If you remember, a while ago when the Wii U version came out, the adapters became very hard to find and they were marked up heavily. So if you don't have the official adapter, if you don't have the official GameCube Smash controller and you want both, I would at least recommend taking a look at it, maybe trying to get a hold of at least a pre-order on them, because when Smash comes out, these will be hard to probably find in store, I assume, as they were a while ago when the Wii U version came out. Especially the adapter. I remember the adapter got up like 50, 60, 70 bucks online, and it's a $20 adapter MSRP. So I would at least look into that if you're interested. I will leave links in the description for you guys if you want to go over and check out the Amazon page just in case. Next up, let's talk about Nintendo versus the hacking community. Not as much the hacking community as is now the pirating community, because yes, we are now to a point where you can technically pirate games on the Nintendo Switch and not have to actually buy the game technically, they have a backup loader essentially set up now, and people are loading backed up games that they get online, right? You know, you download it, you put it on there, and you play it without actually having to buy the game. And this is a bit concerning, obviously, for Nintendo because it's rapidly gotten to this point. The PSP got there pretty quick as well, and we saw what happened there. Although the PSP did actually sell really well, just about 80 million units. That's pretty good, I would say. But this is I think a bigger deal for Nintendo because this is going to be their only system. You know, the PSP at least was Sony's technically secondary system. This is Nintendo's only system, and they want it to be locked down. Otherwise, third parties might look at it and say, maybe. It was fun when it was hacking in homebrew. Now it's getting a bit more serious, and Nintendo appears to be cracking down. We've talked about Michael Sayers over on Twitter a lot because he data mined stuff. He actually found the new chipset that they were kind of building, the T214, and then the possibility of 8 gigabytes of RAM being referenced in the code for their source and everything. And it looks like he wrote up a whole thing over on Reddit talking about how Nintendo has really upped their game with the anti-piracy measures they have online for Nintendo's online service, where they are just outright banning people because they can tell if you have an actual legit download or legit game card. This right here is taken from his Reddit page. The whole write-up is in the description. If you want to check it out, you can go over to Reddit and check it out. And he says, after doing some research earlier today into how the Switch gains authorization to play a given game online, I learned that Nintendo has implemented some very strong anti-piracy measures in this regard. They can actually perfectly detect whether a digital copy of a game has been legitimately purchased. I figured I'd make a post explaining the process since it's pretty technically interesting. He goes on to explain everything in very specific detail, so if you want a good read-through to check all that out, you can. It essentially looks like it's pulling authorization tokens and double-checking against really cross-referencing what they know and everything, and according to him, at the bottom, kind of like just a big summary, he says these are extremely strong anti-piracy measures. Nintendo did a great job here. In the game card case, Nintendo can detect whether or not the user connecting his data from a Nintendo authorized game card for the correct title, even going on to say this solved the 3DS era issue of game card header data being shared between games. Now, they also talk about the digital game case where it's a digital download that you have. Nintendo actually perfectly prevents online piracy here. Tickets cannot be forged, and Nintendo can verify that the device ID in the ticket matches the device ID for the client cert connecting. And his TLDR, or too long didn't read, don't pirate games, it'll lead to your console being banned from going online, and every banned early hardware revision switch is an enormous waste. So there you go. It looks like Nintendo was eyeing this up, whether it's from their paid program where they pay hackers to tell them about this stuff, or they seriously just said, you know what, we got to figure this out. And it appears that they have, or at least they've been working on it. And according to Michael, this seems to be a serious way to ban hackers, which honestly, I've said this before, I don't mind hackers being banned. I think there should be some severe repercussions for that, like banning your entire system through a MAC address or whatever, maybe the Nintendo online account completely where your purchases are. It might be a little dicey, but honestly, you are messing with other people's experiences. I don't mind this. I really don't. If you're going to go online, you're going to be invincible in Splatoon 2, which is a pretty competitive game, or, you know, Infinite Ink or whatever, flying across it and everything. Yeah, you probably shouldn't be playing with other people who are trying to play fair and competitively. I don't mind this. This is a good move from Nintendo to try to get this done early, so you don't have to deal with it. The hacking thing is still a bit of an issue, as Team Executor is seemingly launching their own way to hack the system. Essentially what we saw, where you kind of join two pins, but then also load something into the USB-C port to load up its own firmware, and that, I believe, is launching this week. So that's going to be fun to see how that happens. Next up, let's talk about Dragon Ball FighterZ on the Nintendo Switch, because this is one of the biggest things coming out of E3 for a lot of people, because there are a lot of people who thought it wouldn't run on the Switch, and not only is it running, it appears to be 1080p 60 and then 720p 60 in handheld mode. We're still going to get verification, because it could be dynamic scaling, who knows, but we're going to get verification. I'm sure Digital Foundry did the whole thing, and I'll kind of wait until we see it actually in the wild and play it. But from the footage that we've seen, and a lot of direct feed footage is coming out now, Nintendo World Report, I believe, did it and everything, it looks good. It looks good. It looks like it runs smooth. And that's great for people who do want to travel with Dragon Ball FighterZ. Obviously, it's the handheld part is the most interesting aspect to the Switch, because if you're mostly going to play it docked, yeah, third-party games are going to look better on the Xbox One X or the PS4 Pro. And if you're in that deep for a 4K TV and everything, you might as well play it there. But the idea of being able to play it with you, like on the go. Maybe you travel a lot. Like I'll be traveling for a convention this weekend, and I remember the Switch. I can take it with me. That's really cool. So it's neat to see this on there, especially the full version, regular resolution, everything like the PS4 and the Xbox One S. Pretty cool to see, and it runs smooth. I'm very happy with that. The release date, interestingly enough, was talked about for Japan as September 27th. Now, it did release earlier in the States and then later in Japan, and they have talked about a late summer release, so it's very possible that it could get into maybe August, maybe the early September. They could try to get right in there to get maybe right towards the end of summer for the US and other places in the world. But Dragon Ball tends to have tiered releases. They don't usually release worldwide at the same time. Xenoverse 2 is that way. FighterZ was the same way. But they seem to be targeting an earlier release in the States. But we'll see because, of course, plans change. It could come out later. Although, so far, I'm liking what I see. The game looks and runs great. And if you really want it on the Switch, well, you seem to be getting a almost uncompromised version. I will say the backgrounds look lower resolution or just less detail, but mostly you're probably focusing on the fighters anyway, which seem to look pretty good. Next up, let's talk about WWE 2K19 because they did reveal their cover athlete. It is AJ Styles. They put a big still out for it. I haven't seen a trailer yet or anything. It could come out later today or sometime this week. Now, they did mention that it is launching on the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC. No mention of the Switch version, which they need to figure that whole mess out anyway. So, honestly, if they're going to release it like they did 2K18, yeah, don't bother because that was a waste of money. I'll say that now. Whoever's fault it was, Blind Squirrel, 2K, Take-Two. I always go to the parent company because they hire the porting company. So, Take-Two. Terrible job with 2K18, and they got a lot of money, I think, for it, because I think a lot of people bought it. But October 9th, it's coming out on those three systems. You can pre-order, get early access for October 5th if you'd like, and according to them, it's going to feature a massive roster, including WWE superstars, Legends, Hall of Famers, NXT favorites, and everything like that. So it looks like it's going to also, according to them, have more extensive creation controls for your characters, although people are already making some pretty crazy characters as it was, and this just seems to be more of the same. Now, here's the thing. If they're not going to put on the Switch, that's fine. Honestly, I'd rather not release a broken mess like 2K18, but they might want to figure that out eventually. Maybe they're taking an extra year. Of course, it's going to run, it ran kind of buggy on the PS4 and Xbox One 2K18 last time as well. It was a new engine. So I kind of give them like, okay, it was a new engine. Let's see what you can do with 2K19, where you've had a whole extra year to work on this game with this engine with more experience. So I hope it comes out and it's not massively buggy on the other systems like it was. We saw like Cena putting an ankle lock by a chair or a couch. It was so weird, but I'm hoping they get this all figured out and it's a good wrestling game because a lot of people say it's been kind of going downhill for this series. So I'm hoping it's actually good, but we'll see, I guess. And our last bit of news, let's talk about the Virtual Console, or at least I guess the successor to the Virtual Console. See, Reggie had an interview with IGN during, I guess, E3 and everything. It was very recent, so it must have been during E3. But talked with IGN in an interview about the Nintendo Switch, and the Virtual Console came up, and this is what he said. The Virtual Console successor is Nintendo Switch Online, right? With the mentality that says we're going to be offering a slate of games, and it's a slate that's going to increase over time. For many of these games, there's going to be additional online capability provided in those games. That's the vision we have for how to best bring our legacy content to Nintendo Switch. So it does look like, straight from Reggie, that this Nintendo Online subscription service is the successor to the Virtual Console. So I guess people are asking, where's the Virtual Console? Well, it's coming to the Switch. It's just called Nintendo Online, apparently. That's according to Reggie, and I guess just Nintendo in general at this point. Now, it's cool that they're adding the online stuff, and I guess you're technically subscribing to a service, but they do technically decide what games you have available to you on that service. Whereas before with the Virtual Console, sure, they decided which games to put on the system, like to make available, but you can decide yes or no to just outright buy the game rather than continue to pay, X amount of dollars. Now, it's not a lot. That's the one thing I will say. It's not enough for people to be like, oh, I gotta pay. It's $20 a year, right? It's like, okay, yeah, it's fine. Whereas, you pay, $8, $9 for like a Nintendo 64 game or something like that. So, yeah, it's not a lot, I think, and I think that's why a lot of people aren't making a massive deal about it. Like, if this was like $100 a year, people would be like, what? But we'll see how their library changes, because so far we only know a couple of games, and they're all NES games, but it could change. You could get Super Nintendo games, Game Boy games, Nintendo 64, GameCube, we'll see about that one. But I do think it's going to build. I'm going to be more curious, though, and you got to keep an eye out for this, if they take games away. Because if they don't, that service could kind of snowball into a very large library for $20 a year. And my question then is, can you continue to charge $20 per year? Because if the library gets that large and that worthwhile, don't be surprised if Nintendo maybe tries to increase the price to 30 and then maybe a few years later 40, 50. Maybe eventually Nintendo tries to charge you $60 for online. But for now, $20 a year with X amount of games from NES, and we'll see Super Nintendo and other games as well. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for Newswave today. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit the like button. It really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave a bunch of comments down below about everything we talked about today, whether it's Nintendo kind of cracking down on the hacking scene online. Essentially, if you go online and you try to play a pirated game, you're out. Just like that. They kick you right out. You're banned. I assume they're just banning consoles outright, not even messing around. What's your MAC address? Boom, you're banned. That's it. And I think it's better, right? I think it's a good thing, but I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say about the whole hacking scene with them trying to jump online and Nintendo cracking down on. Also, let me think about the Virtual Console. It's a hot button topic right now. Reggie seems to say that this is the successor to the Virtual Console, and I think it's going to take years to build it up, but when it does get there, if it's a subscription service, maybe it then travels to the next Nintendo console and the next one, and maybe we get 10 years in, 15 years in, and there's just a massive library. We'll see about that. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.